Welcome into Bills Postgame Live. We're presented by the divorce and estate planning law firm of Clark and Peshkin, Maddy Glab, alongside of Steve Tasker. And it might not have been pretty, but the Bills were able to get the victory over the Giants. A low-scoring game, 14-9 is your final score. The Bills move on to 4-2 on the season. The Giants 1-5. And from last week to this week, a big thing for the Bills was, hey, we need to get into a rhythm on offense. We need to get that going quickly, get on the scoreboard quickly, and start to get things going with Josh Allen and his guys. Second straight game, we haven't seen that happen. The defense, although they were able to come in clutch quite a few times, a couple of big fourth down stops there, and then Taron Johnson at the end of the day, at the end of the game, really sealing that victory for the Bills. Yeah. So what do you think about how this game came together and unfolded, Steve?
The two turnovers in the first half really set them back. They were moving the ball and turning the ball over like they did. Gabe Davis with the fumble, and then Josh Allen with a tipped interception trying to fit it in. Wasn't a really great throw anyway, but that was the story of the first half. Another slow start for the Bills, and it's a little problematic. You're not going to be able to hold every team like the New York Giants to 9 points on the game. So you knew when the Bills finally took the lead and stuff, and they got their rhythm together, they were going to be able to move the football. The problem was they lacked any big plays whatsoever. They didn't have any chunk plays. The Giants really made them go the long way. Steph Diggs was doubled all night. They sat on him as much as they could, and nobody else on the offense gave Josh Allen an option. It was Steph Diggs or nobody, and that was a problem. Yeah, heading into the second half of things, Diggs, Davis, and Knox were your only guys that were targeted in the air from Josh Allen on offense. So it was tough for them to get things going. They were able to get 2 touchdowns on the scoreboard, enough to get a victory. This team has been averaging over 30 points a game. They go well under that, but hopefully next week they can get back to those ways. Josh Allen stays undefeated in Sunday Night Football, 5-0 in his career as a starter. All right, we're going to send it over to a couple players, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer.
NCAA tournament survive in advance type of thing?
Oh, man, that was wild. Got the dub, Got the dub. Just fortunate to get the win. And, survive another week. I know it's early in the season, but, you can't let those close games slip, and we were able to get it done.
You're working with some big guys at linebacker and also that. What was the communication like? How big of a step forward was it for this defense? We did a pretty good job communicating. Obviously, it's not perfect. We can always get better. But I think the guys that stepped in, played pretty well defensively. I don't know yards and all that type of stuff, but at the end of the game, at the end of the day, gave up 9 points. A couple stands. I know right before half at the end of the game. So, the guys that stepped in did pretty well, but obviously we can go back to the film and correct a lot of things. Jordan, were you surprised on the last play of the game that got Saquon Barkley with the 1 yard limit? But the time didn't matter at this point.
Yeah, that's probably a 50-50 call for Dave's. He decided to throw it. At that, I wasn't really surprised, but Terry made a hell of a play to help us win the game.
You guys have familiarity with the entire team that you just played, but you guys also played with Tyrod. Does that relevant at all, or was it so long ago that it doesn't even matter?
I think you can take some things that he did. He did well here. He's a great quarterback. He's been in the league for a long time. He understands coverages. He understands where to put the ball. We were able to get off the field in certain situations today. Big stop before halftime. He definitely takes some things that he did. He's done well over the years. A quarterback that likes to pull the ball down and use his legs and scramble. He did that a couple times today. But at the end of the day, we were able to get off the field on the last play of the game.
Mike, is it a little jarring to see your own offense struggle? 0 points for 3 quarters, which is almost unheard of. A little surprised by that?
100% surprised just because of what we have on offense. But at the same time, when they're going through a game like that, it's on us. Obviously, we're a team, and special teams step up, defense step up, and that's how we got the win today. I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of times, a la last week where we just couldn't get off the field. Not getting the ball back for the offense. So, it goes hand in hand. We're out there trying to play as a team, complementary football, and if one side's down, the other side has to pick everything up.
know they're all sweet, but does it make it a little bit sweeter when you guys were the ones that made the big play, especially, ending the game with you guys on defense?
They're all sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all sweet. But super happy for Taryn. Big play in the game to get us off the field. 3rd and goal or 4th and goal at the 1 or 2 yard line with 2 seconds left, and so that's the ball game right there. So either they make the play or we make the play, and Taryn made a hell of a play.
You guys lined up right behind him. What'd you make of Dorian today?
Thought he had a hell of a game.
Dorian played his ass off.
Yeah,
He's flying around, making plays. Obviously I'm in the back end. I can see a little more what he's able to do and run fits and stuff like that. Did a pretty good job. Obviously, you can always correct some mistakes, but young guy, learn from him and move forward to the next game. Sweet.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, it's time for this week's Player Spotlight. It's presented by Microsoft Surface. Microsoft Surface is the official tablet and sideline technology of the Buffalo Bills, and our spotlight tonight is on Latavius Murray. He did have a couple huge runs for the Bills to set them up well there in the second half of things. He goes 12 attempts for 45 rushing yards. His biggest gain was 12 rushing yard play. So, Steve, why do you think he deserves the spotlight?
Well, they needed him in the second half. When they handed him the ball, he was really plowing through. He's making yards after contact. This 12-yard run it came right in the time when the Bills needed some momentum. They were getting down towards the red zone, and he made sure they got there from the 25-yard all the way down to the 13. That was Latavius Murray. That drive, some of the things that he did on those drives were crucial in keeping the run game alive. He squeezed out some 5-yard gains when it looked like it was going to be a 2-yard gain, kept them ahead of the sticks. His rushing, and I think the physical nature of his running, because he's so big and fast, has really made a difference for the run game. I know it made a difference tonight in a couple of drives.
Yeah, the Bills have been able to rely on him quite a bit through the season so far. I mean, that's a veteran that you can count on, and he's always had productive seasons regardless of where he has been. James Cook also 14 attempts, 71 rushing yards tonight, averaged 5.1 yards per carry. All right, Josh Allen is on the podium, so we want to get right over to him.
Josh, what do you feel led to the struggles through the first 3 quarters offensively?
Just really wasn't getting into a rhythm. That's pass and run game included. We got to find ways to get off to a fast start, and I don't think we've done that the last few games. So, at the end of the day, it's a win. It's an ugly one. We'll take it. But there's a lot of things that we got to learn from and get better at.
Would you get checked out just now?
Just some pictures.
Shoulder? Or?
Yeah.
Then when you hit your head, could you feel it a little bit before they called you off for the first half there?
Yeah, that was a little bit of pain there, but we'll be all right.
Throwing shoulder or other shoulder?
Done.
Anything additional from that?
No.
You buy into the theory at all that Dable knows you so well that maybe that was part of the struggle. He knows what to take away from you, maybe? I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, it's essentially the same offense. It's something that they see for a month and a half in training camp. So they played a really good game defensively, and let's throw records out the door. It's the National Football League. Those guys get paid to play as well, and they did a good job today. And we made one more play than they did on defense. I can't thank our defense enough for helping us out there, but we can't put our defense in those types of situations, game in, game out. We got to be better.
What'd you see on the touchdown to Morris?
Just rolling out a little bit. I saw that he kind of turned upfield. I saw safety's back towards me, knew that I could put the ball where he can catch it, and he made a heck of a play.
When you let the ball go on a play like that and you see the window closing, I'm talking about the moment from leaving your hand to he catches it. Do you have a moment of, uh-oh?
No.
No,
I'm throwing it because I think it's going to get there, and it's more surprise if it doesn't, But yeah, just trusting what I see, trusting the guys around me, and like I said, he made a heck of a play.
What switched in the second half? I think the only incompletion was the one to Dawson at the end, but why were you guys so much more effective?
I couldn't tell you exactly. We ran the ball really well in the second half, and I think it opened up some things. But until I watched the film, I wouldn't have a clear-cut answer for you. Just getting into a better rhythm in that second half and being smarter with the football. But again, we got to find a way to establish that early in the game and feed off of that.
You guys have been trying to get Hardy involved out of some of those backfield passes early in the season, but how rewarding was it to see that finally break through tonight?
Great. I mean, he's been working his tail off. He's a guy that doesn't complain. He works extremely hard in practice. He's made some really big plays for us in the last couple games that have helped us out quite a bit. So, as the year goes on, we got to find more ways to utilize him and his talent. But yeah, I mean, he made a heck of a play tonight and got in the end zone, and that was a big score for us after a 17-play drive. And you got to finish in the end zone, and we did there.
Josh, that third down throw that you brought up, you shook your head a little bit. What went wrong?
Yeah, I just missed him. Dorsey's putting the ball in my hands there, and they've got one timeout. So if you're throwing the ball, it better be completed. And just came out the hand a little softer than I wanted to, and missed him.
Did that have anything to do with your throwing shoulder that got you going?
Nah, I mean, I played the entire second half, and I didn't know that was my only incompletion, but it didn't affect the other ones.
Did you get hurt? When did you get the shoulder hurt? How early in the game?
I believe it was second quarter.
Was that the play when you went into the tent? Was that the same play?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was the play before.
But just for clarification, because I think was there a concussion spotter involved with that, or was it just
they spotted me up top and they wanted to check me out. The next play, the previous play, is the one where I felt I hurt myself a little bit. So,
how do you feel about the offense right now from an overall standpoint?
Again, I don't want to make mountains out of molehills here. We've been an extremely efficient offense. We've scored a lot of points. Obviously, the last two games we haven't gotten off to a hot start, and we got to figure out why that is and how to get ourselves in a funk, or get ourselves out of a funk early on and get ourselves into a good rhythm early on. So, we'll take it one game at a time, 1 week at a time, and just try to continue to get better throughout the week.
Different are those conversations when you're trying to figure out things after a win compared to last week after a loss?
Yeah, I mean, again, we gotta have a sense of urgency and get to the bottom of it, and we're a much better team than what we showed tonight and what we showed last week. We're a much better offense than that, and we know that. So we got to go out there, we got to prove it. But again, it starts with practice and figuring out how to get our guys in good situations to help this football team win football games. So again, we'll watch the film, we'll get better from it, and we'll be better going forward.
Stephon had 11 of your first 16 targets, I think. Do you feel there's any need to spread the ball around a little bit more?
I mean, we're throwing it to the open guy, and he does a good job of getting open and making plays with the ball in his hands. And when you have a receiver as talented as him, and he's your first read in a lot of concepts, and he's open, you can't really pass him up. So we do have to utilize other guys, though, and I do think that we're a better team when we are able to spread the ball around. We're able to get everybody involved, and it's kind of dictated throughout each week, the flow of the game based on how they're playing us. And sometimes it's going to be like that. There's going to be a game where he doesn't get as many targets as we want him to as well. So as long as we're moving the ball and scoring points, all that'll take care of itself. But we gotta take care of that too.
Was everything you went through last year at the end of the season, the ambulance coming out on the field, can you just, from a team standpoint, seeing your teammate down like that, your brother, can you just explain what's going on with you guys and what's going through your head?
Yeah, you never want to see that. That's the ugly part of the game, and he's been so great. Damian coming here, and I know he's only been here for a few months, obviously, at this training camp, but the juice that he brings and the tough nose running that he brings to this offense, you can't really replace it, and I'm hoping he's all right. I haven't gotten an update yet. I did see him moving, so that's obviously that's a positive sign. But praying for him and his family, and hopefully we can get an update on him soon. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Thank you.
All right, that was QB1 Josh Allen. And Steve, when talking about getting in a hot start, finding that way to get in a hot start, finding that rhythm earlier and more often in these games, you look at the schedule, and it's week 6 here. Is there a little bit in your head thinking like, okay, they have some time to figure this out before it really starts to matter? Maybe have these bumps in the road here, and if it's going to take a couple of games here to figure it out, and then they can dial it back in, going forward this season, you're gonna have bumps in the road throughout the year.
Yeah,
and if it's going to come now,
right.
Probably better.
You got to find ways to win ugly games like this. They've been in a couple. They didn't win the New York game on opening night, and they didn't win the Jacksonville game either. Couldn't kind of hang in there in a 5-point loss in that. This one, they did find a way. And it was kind of the same symptom of what happened in Jacksonville, where they came out sluggish and couldn't get first downs, and they fumbled they couldn't get a first down on the first series. Then Gabe fumbled the ball after making a nice catch. Then they had a tipped interception that kind of added to it. Had a couple of guys get hurt. Had guys like Giant players going down, getting hurt. So it was kind of a herky-jerky first half. Seemed like it took forever because they didn't. It seemed like there were first down after first down. The Giants had the ball a ton. The Bills didn't. It was at one point 16 minutes of possession time to 8 for the Bills. You can't stay on the field. You can't get a rhythm because you can't get the ball back. The defense gave up just enough plays to keep the Giants on the field, but they didn't give up any points. And while that's great in the long run, your offense is sitting over there getting cold and staying stale. All that stuff played into this, but they found a way the defense didn't give up any points. The offense did finally get its rhythm and find some plays and make some plays. And I think one of the disconcerting things is they got down there, remember on the 4th and 1 yard line, they went back into shotgun and didn't really power the ball in on a couple of plays, took a loss on a running play. So there's a lot of things to look at that conspire to make the whole picture look pretty ugly, right? I don't think it's never as bad as it looks.
Right.
But when you step back and look at it, there was always like every 3rd or 4th play was pretty ugly for this team. And it either took them off the field or put them behind the sticks and they couldn't overcome it.
They'll definitely be working on that in practice this week. Diggs had 100 receiving yards in this game. It is his 5th game this season where he has had at least 100 receiving yards. Continues to be a great target there for Josh Allen when those two link up because good things happen when he finds Stephon Diggs. All right, we're going to go over to Chris Brown with his insider's take. Hear what he has to say about this one.
The Bills' offense was stuck in neutral for the 2nd straight week and went scoreless in the first half for the first time in almost 4 seasons. It wasn't until the 3rd quarter that they finally kicked into gear on a 17-play, 89-yard scoring drive in which they converted 4 third downs, including the 3-yard touchdown pass from Josh Allen to Deontay Hardy. That was followed by a 12-play, 75-yard drive for another touchdown, and it was just enough for win number 4 over the Giants. For Bills Postgame Live, I'm Chris Brown.
That 17-play drive that Chris Brown was talking about, it took 9 minutes and 58 seconds off the clock. It's the Bills' longest drive since 2016. They needed to put something together like that, draining the clock. It was good for them because that started a rhythm in the second half. Yes, we wish it started earlier, but for them to go touchdown toward the end of the game really turned things around for the Bills. Von Miller is on the podium right now. We'll send it over to him.
Howdy.
Ron, how do you feel out there tonight? How do you feel you're progressing in your 2nd game back?
Didn't do much on the stat sheet today, but I feel like I rushed a whole lot better today. Explosiveness on the snap count, and I felt a little bit bendy around the edge today. Defense is still on fire. We had 3 sacks today, held up tough towards the end of the game. Great win. I take them pretty ugly. They all count the same. So it's a good win, and we just keep moving.
From a pass rush standpoint, is it frustrating when someone like Tyrod's getting the ball out so quick that you can't always get there?
No, that's part of it. It doesn't matter if it's a scrambling quarterback, passing quarterback. That's what they'll try to do. All quarterbacks try to do that. You just got to keep rushing. You just got to reload and line back up.
I know Terry Johnson made a
made the play at the end there, Vaughn, but the guy finishes with 15 tackles. He's beating blocks to make plays short of the line to gain. I mean, just what can you say about Terran's game?
Well, Terran, he's on fire, man. Like, I saw him on the sideline. I was like, hey, man, what you thinking about? Because he was just staring down at the turf. I was like, hey, man, what you thinking about? He was like, hey, man, I'm thinking of a play to close the game. And I was like, okay, let me leave you alone then, because we gonna need that. And Terran, he's been on fire since I've been playing with him, man. He's a hell of a teammate, and I'm glad to have him on my side for sure.
Vaughn, you've played against Tyrod before, I think, when you were in Denver. How do you think you handled just his overall scrambling ability? Yeah, I mean, we're gonna play some scrambling quarterbacks. Tyrod's at the top of that list when it comes to his ability and being able to extend plays and get down the field. Last time I played Tyrod was the fake handshake here on Bills here at Highmark Stadium, and I was on the other side, and we ended up losing that game. So, I was on the other side this time, and we ended up winning that game. So it was all good, and I'm happy for Tyrod and the career that he's had.
The drive before, at the end of the first half, when the clock ran out on the Giants, just how big of a momentum boost was it to keep them a one-possession game? Yeah,
I mean, that's how we ended the half like that, and we ended the game like that. So it was a great team win. Defense played well today. Offense put enough points on the board to win us the game, and special teams played great as always. And like I said, man, ugly, pretty, by a lot, by a little, I'll take whatever we can get. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
All right, that was the veteran Von Miller, and he's been in several of these low-scoring games, and if you come out of it with a win, he knows, hey, that's what matters at the end of the day. It's in the column as a W, not as an L. So he's been through plenty of these games. We saw him in and out of the game a little bit. I would guess that he's still, not necessarily maybe on a pitch count, but he's still getting his legs under him coming back from that injury. I'm sure we'll see a little bit more uptick in his play as the season goes on, but it was good to see the pass rush get after the quarterback again. I know Tyrod Taylor does get the ball out fast, but to see our guys get him on the ground a few times, it really starts with the pass rush, and it's been pleasant, not surprise, but it's been great to see what they've been able to do to start the season. It's
been effective all year, and you look at a game like this and say, wow, what does it all mean? But maybe there was something in the water this week, because you think about it, the Kansas City Chiefs struggled to beat a bad Denver team. The 49ers had an ugly loss to the Cleveland Browns today with a missed field goal at the end. The Eagles, ugly game versus the New York Jets. They lose. All those are Super Bowl favorites. And you throw the Bills in with that, there's an ugly game against the New York Giants, but they find a way to win. It was a weekend of underdogs, and some of them pulled off the upset, and some of the teams like Kansas City and Buffalo managed to eke out the win and win as favorites, although the point they didn't cover. The Bills didn't cover. So it was a narrow win for Buffalo. And you got to find a way to win ugly games like this. Right. There's just no other way around it. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have bad weeks. And as we've seen it, the Bills for 3 weeks straight, weeks 2, 3, and 4, they were unstoppable. You run into problems like this. Then at some point,
and they were going up against a staff that knew them very well.
You got to turn it around and find a way to get the magic back and find a way to stay on the field and score points. And
then you rely on big players in big-time moments. I mean, for Von Miller to tell us that Taron Johnson on the sideline was envisioning a game-changing play, a play at the end of the game, that's exactly what he did. And this is not the first time that we've seen Taron Johnson have big plays in big-time moments, whether it's ending a game, whether it's a pick six. He's had a couple of those. He is such an important part of this defense. And if you look at this defense without big name players, at least right now, no Tre'Davious White, no Daquan Jones, no Matt Milano. We know Trey White is out for the season, but the door has not closed on Matt Milano and a Daquan Jones's return later on. But those are three big players who are not in the lineup, and you have to rely on other big names to be able to step up in those moments and do something for the team there, and he did exactly that. That's right. Taron did a nice job tonight. He's one of the most respected players. He's certainly one of the most respected nickel corners in the National Football League. You talk to all the people who watch film and study it.
Taron Johnson was the reason they could play nickel as much as they did because of his versatility in the run game and being able to cover and carry guys down the field. Another thing as well, you mentioned for the Bills offense, they need somebody to emerge to take the load off Steph Diggs.
Yeah.
They need a secondary target. Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, of course, when Kincaid can come back, James Cook. Somebody has got to get more targets and be as efficient as Steph Diggs is. If you can't target Steph Diggs 11 out of the first 13 throws and not have some light go off in the other defensive coordinator's his head. He's going to start taking him away. You need somebody to give Josh Allen more options. And maybe that is a little bit of Ken Dorsey dialing him up. But when it comes down to it, that's Josh and Steph having a chemistry. Josh trusts him and wants to throw to him and knows he's going to get open and come down with a football. Somebody else has to earn that respect from Josh and be a guy that Josh can throw to take some of the load off Diggs and make it tougher on the defense.
And for Diggs to be targeted that much and have that many receptions, quite frankly, when he was being doubled for much of the game, I mean, speaks to how high level of a player he is and can explain why Josh wants to go after him again and again and again because, hey, even when he's got two guys on him, there's an 85-90% chance he's going to catch the ball because he's just been that surefire target, that weapon for Josh that he can completely trust. And he has 16 targets in this one. But when you talk about spreading the ball around a little bit and taking some of that load off of Diggs, you look at the target share in this game, and Diggs is at the top with 16, obviously. Dawson Knox has 6 targets. He catches 3 passes. Gabe Davis has 4 targets, and he catches 3 passes. And then after that, Quentin Morris was targeted once, Khalil Shakir was targeted once, Deontay Hardy was targeted once. When you look at a box score, of course it's great that Diggs had an 100-yard game, but sometimes it's also nice to see lots of names in the receiving box, seeing the guys that were getting involved in the passing game end of things. But yeah, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, those were 2 early targets for Josh as well. Stephon Diggs did get a lot of that in the first half. But Quentin Morris, let's talk about the touchdown reception that he had. I mean, he comes in the game, he had a bigger focus and role in this offense tonight because Dalton Kincaid was not a part of the lineup in concussion protocol, and he gets 1 target. It's in the end zone
for a touchdown,
and Josh Allen fits it in such a tight window, and the dude has so much confidence, he makes the grab, touchdown. Incredible to see people like him check in and check out of the game. Yes, you get more opportunities, but not too many compared to what Stephon Diggs had in this game. When your number's called, he showed up.
He really did, and the Bills need that from the rest of the guys on this offense. They need Sherfield, Hardy, Diggs, aside from Diggs, Kincaid, Knox, all of those guys. They need somebody to come in and carve out a niche in this offense in the pecking order where they're going to be a guy that Josh Allen looks to time and time again, away from Steph Diggs. If they can do that, it'll make Diggs all the more effective because it'll make him, less of a focus for the defense. And at this point of the season, nobody's done that yet, at least regularly. We've seen a game here and a game there, and some guys, once the team starts rolling and everybody gets on board, we've seen them, jump on board and make plays after the game is out of reach. But early in games, I think this is an offense that needs another weapon to step forward. I think they got some talented guys. There's guys in there that can do it, but they got to get the opportunity, and they've got to make the most of that opportunity.
And like I said earlier, it's week 6 here. We're still in the first part of the season. This is an 18-week season. You still have a lot of ball left to play. And in the first 6 weeks, we hear so many people talk about we're figuring out our offense, we're figuring out our defense. We use the first 6 weeks to kind of really figure this thing out, figure out who we are, figure out what our identity is. And if that bleeds over to week 7 and week 8, this season is, yes, you want to know who you are, but this season is very long. This offense does have quite a few familiar faces on it, so they do know each other pretty well, but an identity year to year is very different, and we could see, hopefully within the next few weeks, this team take on a new identity, at least on offense, being able to figure it out, get in that rhythm early and often, like we all want to see them do, and like we know that they're capable of doing. You put up a lot of points against the Miami Dolphins. That was a very confident win by this team. That's who we know. That's who we understand. That's what we want to see out of this group, and we know that they're capable of doing it. It's just finding a way to be consistent like that.
Steph Diggs ended this game with, I think, 379 catches as a Buffalo Bill, which passed Lee Evans for fourth most in team history. He did that tonight early in the game, and congratulations to Steph Diggs. He is on pace to have one of his most amazing seasons statistically, and that's saying something. The guy has been stellar since he walked in the building.
He's had quite a few games this season where he's passed records, where he's been moving up in the receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns as a Buffalo Bill. I would expect that we're going to see a lot more of that this season. As we're waiting for our head coach, Sean McDermott, we do want to throw it to inside the locker room because we do have the post-game speech for you guys.
This early in the season, man, coming out in a close game where it wasn't going our way, that shows a lot of guts. That's a good win, right? Take that lesson with us, man. Hey, we win close games, yes, sir. Right? Because of how you guys are wired, man, right? We win close games. That's a great win right there. Give yourself a round, baby. A lot we can take from that game. We'll look at the film, we'll learn from it, but we got to get better, man. We're a better team than we showed tonight in all three phases.
Here we go. Hey, defense. Thank you. We got y'all. We got to be better for y'all. We're going to get you right. Thank you.
All right, that was the post-game speech, and Sean McDermott there telling his team, we're better than this, but we can take a lot from this game and learn a lot from it. Do you feel like in games like this one, you can take a lot more from it than maybe some other games?
Yeah, I think there's nobody sitting back going, yeah, we got this thing figured out. Yeah. They struggled too badly against a team that was absolutely bereft of their normal starters. Their offensive line was an absolute shambles. Their quarterback wasn't in the game. They had, guys. Saquon Barkley was back in the game. He's a good player, obviously, but just fresh back in the game. This is a game. This is a win that serves a couple of purposes. One is a win is a win. Two, there's no complacency after a win like this. You've got a lot of things to work on. You're going to have to go back to the drawing board, and you're going to have to play better in the future to win games. Plus, it's stacked on top of last week's loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you feel like you're in a stretch here where you got to figure some things out and start doing things better. I would anticipate, this is a club that's going to take this and run with it. I mean, this is Sean McDermott's going to use this as an opportunity to make these guys maybe change their process a little bit and tighten down their process a little bit to get better. But they've got to play a little bit more consistently.
Yeah, this defense that they went up against, the Giants, they were allowing like 30 points a game, one of the worst in the NFL in several statistical categories. They had 3 takeaways going into this game. They have 2 takeaways in this game. This Giants defense blitzes at a very high rate, but they get pressure at a very low rate. So when you're looking up the stats on this defense heading into this game, it was like, okay, well, maybe the Bills can take advantage of the points that they're allowing, of the yards that they're allowing, but they are coached by a Wink Martindale defense. He does like to try and send things at opposing quarterbacks with the rates that they blitz at. So the defense did do a good job of taking some things away for the Bills and the offense that they were going to try and get going. You got to assume that Brian Daboll could give some pointers to his staff members on both sides of the ball, being in Buffalo for a few years, knowing this offense, knowing this defense as well. Yeah, there's still growth here to be had. And this is an offense that even when you're in it for a long time, especially when you're in it for a long time, you have new players in, new players out, a lot of new receivers on the squad this year that were not around last year with Sherfield and Hardy and those guys. But as you
play longer in the offense, it evolves. You start to, the same play means something different week to week. The same play, like this week we're running this play a different way because of the wrinkle of this defense. This way we're going to call this play a little differently, and it's going to, so you're in that offense and it evolves, and sometimes you get to a spot where you just need to go just take a step back once, and maybe the Bills' offense is in a spot like that where they've added too much and spun things a little bit. They've got this play that they've had in, and now it's spun this way, and then they spun it again, and they changed it again, and all of a sudden it looks completely different, and they got to get back to the real meaning of it. Those kind of things, because mentally it works on these guys that you get out into a game and you've got to be a PhD in your offense. When he says when he tells you what to do, you got to know what to do. And sometimes I think some of these guys just aren't on it like that. I think that's the only symptomatic thing you can say maybe about this offense is that they just aren't hitting on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, Diggs and Josh seem to be doing it, no question.
Right.
The offensive line protected pretty well tonight, but the Giants did get after Josh a little bit because they sent pressure, and Wink Martindale's good at it. They're good at it. I still think, and I'll say it again, somebody at the skill position besides Steph Diggs has got to etch out and command a bigger role. And you got to earn it. You can't just ask for it and have them start throwing you the football. So we'll see if that happens over the next month or so.
Heading into this one, the Bills were ranked third, averaging 31.8 points per game, fourth, averaging 390.4 total yards per game, and tied for third, averaging a 50% score percentage. That's score percentage per drive. They go 22% per drive today, 2 of 9 in terms of scoring on their offensive possessions. And when you have a game like this, Steve, and you go back to the drawing board, and when you look within yourselves as an offense and you say, okay, these are the things that didn't work well for us, these are the things that we liked, these are the things that we might want to tweak, this offense, this staff, these players on offense, they do have an open line of communication. This is a positive for this group. So when you are working through things, Ken Dorsey, our offensive coordinator, has been very open and honest about, I want Josh Allen's opinions on our offense. I want to hear from Stephon Diggs on what he likes, what he doesn't like, what plays that Josh likes, what plays that he doesn't like. We are very conversational when it comes to dreaming up and creating a game plan for every single game. So that's a good thing in situations like this where, hey, you don't put 30 points on the scoreboard, so how can we do something like that next time? It's not like you just have Ken Dorsey calling the shots. You have involvement of other players and other staff members, too.
Right. They're going to try, and believe me, the plan is always to score on every drive, right. But you're not playing in a vacuum, and certainly they're going to, huddle up and talk this over and dissect this and see what they did, and probably cross-references what happened in Seattle as well. I mean, against Jacksonville as well in London. They'll be able to cross-reference that and start to see if there's any trends and stuff that they really have to work on. Yeah. And they'll go from there. And I'm sure Sean McDermott will have some comments on that.
And Ken Dorsey, he knows what he's doing. He's in this position for a reason. He's the offensive coordinator of this team for a reason. And there's a reason why him and Josh Allen have such a great connection as well. All right, Sean McDermott is on the podium, so we want to get right over to him.
All right. Good to get a win. Anytime you can win in the NFL, it's a good thing. It was not easy. I'll give credit to the Giants. And then there's a lot of things we can do better as well. So I'm proud of the way the guys found a way. I thought our offense came up with 2 critical scores there in the second half, which we needed, and then defensively to come back and basically on 2 got-to-have-it drives for them back-to-back, shut them down. On fourth downs, and so a lot of young guys out there getting valuable time, and that's a great learning experience opportunity for them. So crowd was phenomenal again at home, which is great. No place like home in Western New York, baby. It's unreal. I know you guys are probably going to want injury updates. I'll tell you what I know on Josh. Josh had scans, all are normal so far. on his shoulder, and then Damian, same thing so far. So things are heading in a good direction right now for Damian as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to you with your questions.
Sorry, just to clarify, Damian he also has stance in their offense so far.
So far, yeah. And it's my understanding he has full movement right now as well. So,
from your perspective, Sean, as that's playing out, what was that like for you?
With Damian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you run things start going through your mind. First of all, again, you just look at the young man and anyone, whether it's your own player in this case or a player from the other team, you're concerned, right? And the game becomes secondary to the care and the well-being of the player lying on the field at that point. So, I mean, it's not a good thing to have to go through. But fortunate that he's seemingly heading in a good direction with the reports that we're getting. So I'm just very thankful to God for that.
Coach, tell her 2 halves. You guys come out in that second half. You put together, like you mentioned, 2 great drives. That first drive took 10 minutes off the clock. Y'all going into the fourth quarter. Was that kind of like a point of emphasis to come out and have a little bit more balanced attack in the second half?
Well, we needed to. We didn't get into a good enough rhythm in the first half, and we got to find a little bit better rhythm early on in the game right there.
Sean, is that execution? Is that just like how does that happen, I guess, 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah, well, you're not going to like my answer. It's going to be like I need to go back and look at. I mean, my head is sometimes down now, working with the defense when I'm not seeing every play, right? So I'm not really sure. But at the end of the day, you got to find a rhythm. You got to establish a line of scrimmage and get our quarterback in a good rhythm. And it's probably a little bit of everything. Usually, it's never usually just one thing. And so we got to go look at that and look hard at it because it's been a couple weeks now in a row here that we've gotten off to a slow start. So we're better than that, and we got to work on that.
How was you impressed about how the way that James Cook and Latavius Murray was able to shoulder the load with Damian Harris going down?
Yeah, I mean, I thought James, you could really feel James was running with an attitude. So was Tay. I feel like Tay runs most of the time with an attitude. But James in particular, there were a couple runs in a row there where he had his shoulders lowered and he was running with intent and a purpose, and that's how he's got to run every play.
What went into the decision to have Latavius getting most of the snaps through the first 3 quarters and even starting the game?
Just felt like it was an opportunity for to see what our offense looks like a little bit with Tay starting the game, and then from there the coaches took it from there based on their evaluation of who was the hot hand per se. So, but James is a good back. He's young, and so this is a little bit of a learning opportunity for him as well. You got to come out every game with a purpose and an attitude, and that's what I saw in him tonight.
When you were coaching the defense up for the last play, the untimed down, I guess, did the play surprise you? Was that what you guys anticipated? I mean, how do you balance knowing, okay, they can run it or they can pass it? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, before half, they tried to run it, and our guys shut it down, and then the half ran out. And then in that one, they tried to throw it, and we made the play there too. So real proud of the guys.
Sean, what did you see on Quentin's touchdown? I just wanted to be there and take a play like that.
Yeah, I mean, that was gutting, man, because he was banged up a little bit, and here's our third tight end with Dalton out, ready to play, stepped up in a critical situation, made a huge play for us.
Josh only had 1 incompletion in the second half, and dealing with whatever's going on with his shoulder. Just what did you see from him going from first half that wasn't perfect to what he did in the second half?
Again, gutty performance, resilient. Sometimes you got to find a way. You don't have your A game, and you got to figure it out. And I thought our offense did a little bit of that in the second half, which is good to see.
John, how much pride in the defense with all moving pieces, all the new guys in, to be able to win that game and get the stop you need in the ball game?
Yeah, I mean, 9 points, right? How often can you do that in an NFL game? And, really 2 drives that they had, 2 opportunities to go down and win the game, and our defense stood up. I thought the guys did a phenomenal job. 2 fourth down situations, or, in terms of those drives, ended in basically last play situations there, and our guys stood up. And some of those guys are young guys, but we're not there yet. But when you're talking about Kyer, a second-year player, CB, a second-year player, TB, a second-year player, Dorian, a rookie. I mean, those guys in a game like that, when it's nip and tuck, and to go on a drive where you're saying, hey, 2 minutes, let's execute, right? That's why we practice the way we do, and you got to communicate, execute. It's got to all be rolling in the critical moments of the game, and it was. Those guys were doing a really good job, and then, again, they stood up with it. In that last play, they stood up and made the play that they had to make.
I know week after week we ask you about AJ Epinesa because he keeps making these big impact plays. We were talking to him in the locker room, and he kind of was really hard on himself. Like it's almost like he didn't really do much, and he was unsatisfied with his performance. What does that say about, I guess, his work ethic and the standard that he holds himself to, despite the fact that he is making these big plays week after week now?
Yeah, I mean, it is a standard. That's what we hold ourselves to. That's the environment in our building. You come to work, you prepare, and you come out ready to play. And it's fun to watch young players, maybe players like AJ who haven't been as consistent as they would have wanted to this point in their career, start to really develop. And I think that's where you're able to sustain success, is when your young players develop and the light comes on. And we're seeing that with AJ. And then you're seeing the standard when he doesn't think, for whatever reason, that he played as well as he should have or can. The self-awareness and maturity that comes with that is also very important.
John, after everything settled down with that skirmish in the end zone, did you talk with Josh at all about getting himself involved in a situation like that?
Really, honestly, I didn't have time because it was a lot going on there, as you said, and I'm just trying to manage the game more than anything. He knows he's got to be smart. But I'll say this: we're not backing down either. I don't want our guys backing down. But 17 in particular needs to be smart. He needs to let everybody else fight the fight for him, and he stays in the back. So,
John, what was the thinking with not trying the field goal end of the first quarter, the longer one would have been 55 or so, and then kicking again in the fourth quarter at the end when you're up 5 and 3-4 minutes to go?
Yeah, I think the first one was going the other direction. We felt like we were out of our range there, just because a little bit of the wind that was going usually goes towards the tunnel. So a difference in some of the wind that, again, wasn't a ton of wind, but the wind usually flows into the back of the stadium and towards the tunnel. That's why we took that direction in the fourth quarter.
Coach, Dorian Williams got his first start. I know you haven't watched the film, but what did you notice about this play today?
I'm sorry?
Dorian Williams?
Yeah, I mean, here's another young player out there playing, and he plays extremely hard. I mean, he is only going to get better. I mean, like all young players, he makes some mistakes, but it's important to him, and he has the respect of his teammates, and I think that's a step in the right direction for any young player.
Mullen said a little bit ago that Taryn seemed super focused, more so than usual in the last couple defensive drives. Did you notice that as well?
Taryn did? Yeah,
Taryn.
Yeah, I mean, all the guys did. They knew what they had to do. They knew, I think Giants were holding 3 timeouts, and we're in our 4-minute offense there, and thought we had a chance to end it right there at the completion. Unfortunately, didn't go that way, and then we missed the kick, so we give them a short field right there. But tried to go up 8. I think it would have put us up 8. So I felt like that was the right idea, and then we didn't convert, which we will moving forward. Full confidence in T-Bass, and so we had to stop him on what was amounted to a short field, and I thought all the defensive guys were rolling. I mean, I didn't see, from the naked eye, at least one thing that wasn't executed. Really, I mean, we were pressuring, we were covering, we were pressuring, we were covering, and Saran Neal was out there as well, playing the dime position for us, and again, another guy that doesn't typically play defense, and he stood up.
Sean, it hasn't been smoothest ride for Kyer Elam, and had some bumps tonight as well. But what did you see from him?
Resilient. Yeah, resilient. He made a great tackle in the 2-minute drive that they were on. I forget the call, but that was a great tackle, and I think it kept the clock running as well, which was important. You're going to have some highs, you're going to have some lows, and you just got to stay. You got to stay tough, man. And he showed that tonight.
Coach, on the 3rd and 8, this is the court on the any reason
consideration to force the Giants to use their last timeout?
On our third down? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, we thought about it. Yeah. Wanted to be, had a chance to seal the game also though too, and we had a guy open, and we just didn't execute. So yeah, I mean all those things we're thinking about, we're talking about. Don't like the fact. I mean you're playing aggressive. Trust our quarterback. Don't like the fact that the clock is stops on the incomplete, and they have one timeout remaining. To your point. But I also like putting the hands in putting the ball in the hands of our best player, and Josh Allen too.
What was your assessment of Von's progress the second game back?
Yeah, it's hard to watch the D-line, but his mindset I felt like he's getting his mindset back, of now he's playing and he's a competitive guy, so he's only going to get better each week.
Was the goal coming in to kind of have him available in the fourth quarter as well compared to last week?
Ideally, yeah. Ideally, the more the medical staff takes, ups that rep count, then obviously the more he'll be available in the fourth quarter for us, which is important. So, okay. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that was head coach Sean McDermott. This week's game against the Giants is presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, because life. All right, Steve, next up for the Buffalo Bills is a game against the New England Patriots. They'll be on the road for a 1 o'clock game. They have 2 1 o'clock games left this season. Next week is one of those. So what do the Bills need to do this week in practices to get ready for another tough defense that the Patriots have?
It is going to be, the Patriots are difficult defense to move the football on. Their offense is struggling, but it's a division game. These games always are difficult for teams to win. It'll be harder for the Bills to beat the Patriots than it was for the Raiders to beat the Patriots today. They know each other extremely well. The Bills have seen this movie a bunch, where you go in and you get into these struggles with the Patriots, and you got to find a way to win. Remember the win game where they didn't have to throw the football at all, and the Bills have had their way with the Patriots the last couple of meetings. They got to play better offense if they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
They got to move the football and not give the Patriots enough chances to come out on the field offensively, because the more offense you play, the better you get at it. And it's like the Bills, at one point, like I said, it was 16 minutes of possession time for the Giants to 8 minutes for the Bills. That's a problem. And if you continue to do that, you're going to struggle against no matter who you play. And I know the Patriots are 1-5 right now, and while that is delicious for Bills fans, you don't want them to be 2-5 when you play next.
Yeah. Bills had a 17-play drive, a 12-play drive there at the end of the game. Need a couple more of those so they can control the time of possession, be on the field a lot longer than whoever they're playing. Ticketmaster is the presenting sponsor of the Buffalo Bills 2023 season. Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the NFL. The Bills are 9-1 at home since 2022. Josh Allen 5-0 on Sunday Night Football. The Bills win this one 14-9, 4-2 on the season. That's going to do it for us. We want to thank you for joining into Bills Postgame Live. For Steve Tasker, I'm Maddy Glab. We will check you guys out next week.